Today on Cryptic Mass Guitar, we do a comparison between the Gibson Les Paul Jr. and the Gibson Les Paul Special. Now, two things here. This is somewhat green, but I'm also partially colorblind, so it's going to come across a little more green than it actually is. Even though it is a TV yellow, it is partially green. The other thing is, YouTube videos are fantastic. They allow you to actually get some sound samples and differences. And, you get to see the guitar that you might be looking to purchase in action. However, that's in someone else's hands with someone else's choices on different settings on their amps. The big thing for you to do here is, if you want to actually purchase a guitar, get excited by the YouTube videos. Get a little bit of a different perspective, but don't make that your sole choice for buying a guitar. Make sure you go into the store and play them for yourself, because you could bond with any guitar, and you might think one guitar looks really cool, or that guy plays it great, or whatever, but you might not bond with it when you get to the store. So make sure you're doing that. But I do have 5 sound sample comparisons for you today. Then we're going to talk about the different specs and stuff like that, and then I'll give you a little bit of my opinion on both of these guitars, like feel and stuff-wise. Alright, so there you go. There are all 5 sound sample comparisons. So hopefully that should give you enough information as to whether, you can hear a difference here and, maybe a little bit of the different philosophies between both of these guitars. So what I want to talk about now is, well, the specs and the spec differences here, because these are rather similar guitars. First and foremost, they are both slab mahogany bodies. What does that mean? It means they are non-carved slabs of mahogany. So you're not going to see like any beveling or anything like that. You're just going to see the guitar cut out. So like the SG or anything. So these are basically Les Pauls without the maple carved tops. They both have gloss nitrocellulose finish. They both have rosewood fretboards. The Junior here is unbound, so there's no fret nibs or anything like that, whereas the Special is bound with fret nibs. They both have the 50s Chunky C, somewhat baseball style neck, and they're both mahogany necks. They both have Graphtec nuts, and they have the Gibson oval button vintage deluxe tuners. They're not the vintage sizing, so if you want to swap these out with any modern type tuners, you can do so without enlarging the hole. On the front of the headstock here, you will see the silk-screened logo on the Les Paul Junior, whereas the Les Paul Special has the inlaid Gibson logo, and both of these actually have the silk-screened Les Paul Junior for the Junior and Special for the Special. Both of these guitars also have the non-compensated wraparound rather than what the SG Junior and SG Special have, which is the lightning bar. The lightning bar is great, however, I do find that when the strings tend to slide on the bridge itself, sometimes you feel or hear a little bit of a plink. You don't get that with the non-compensated wraparound. Both of these are hand soldered with orange drop capacitors. We clearly only have one dog-eared P90 in here, whereas we have 2 soap bar style P90s in here, a bridge and a neck pickup. The Special obviously is a little bit heavier than the Junior. So all in all, those are really the specs and the somewhat spec differences. There's not a whole bunch of them. Now, as far as feel goes, and my kind of interpretation or maybe philosophy on these guitars here, the Les Paul Junior, and you will hear this from Les Paul Junior owners, it will make you a better guitar player. The Les Paul Special, sure, is more versatile as it has 2 pickups and you're able to blend them and stuff like that. So you're going to get a little bit more tones out of this. However, you're going to find that when you're playing this, you kind of get a little lazy and you're not going to really touch those knobs as much. So the capacitor, more than likely for you, will not come into play with this unless you have a lot of experience in tone blending and playing with the tone control, which 90% of guitar players don't. The Les Paul Junior here, because it only has one single P90, will force you to be a better guitar player. It will force you to search for those tones by using the volume and the tone control. This is something that countless guitar players will tell you if they have owned a Junior. Whenever you're forced to have one thing, you're forced to actually search for workarounds, and that's really where you're going to understand how the tone controls really work and how you can get them to actually benefit you. Of course, Immediacy on the Les Paul Special is available to you because it's easy for you to get a neck pickup sound, whereas it's really hard to do so on this, but you can get workarounds. And to be honest, in a lot of different recordings and such, if I'm playing this and the tone is set to 4 and maybe the volume is set to 9, it does not sound like a neck pickup. But I generally like it more most of the time than the neck pickup itself. It's just something that you realize, again, once you own a Junior. As far as playability, they're both extremely similar. The non-compensated wraparound is a great wraparound style bridge. There's not a whole bunch of intonation that you can do. I mean, a lot of people will just literally tell you there's not a time where it's going to be perfectly intonated, as it doesn't have saddles that you can, individual saddles and stuff like that you can move around, but you can get pretty darn close. And usually at that point, people are going to tell you that these guitars are rockers, so it does not matter. And hey, it's a Les Paul. It's technically half a Les Paul because it doesn't have the carved maple top, but you have a whole bunch of access to the upper frets. It feels like a Les Paul, maybe a little bit of a thinner Les Paul, of course, but if you have any other Les Paul, it's going to feel basically the same. But again, I really cannot reiterate how much this guitar is overlooked versus something like this or something with a humbucker in it or humbuckers in it. Just whenever you're forced to use a single pickup, it really does make you a better guitar player. You get to understand your instrument a lot more. And the fact that it's a P90 rather than like an updated humbucker or what have you, it just really lends itself really well to the orange drop capacitors or playing with the tone controls and stuff like that. Just because the P90 is extremely versatile. It's much more versatile than a humbucker. It's really hard to understand that if you've never played a P90, but there's just a whole bunch of punch and kick in P90s that you can get, and they really do react well to the tone control and dialing back on your volume. It's well documented. Look it up. So that's really all I do have to say. There's no reason to really talk about anything else because I don't have to put it on my lap and tell you how each feels different or whatever, because they don't really feel different. The only big thing with the Junior is if you're afraid of heights and you're used to 2 pickups, there's a heck of a lot of drop, it seems like, because it's missing that neck pickup. So if you start to look down, you might question your string height, but that's just because the neck pickup's not there. But that's really all I do have to say. Both of these are fantastic guitars. You really cannot beat a neck pickup for the P90 style or P90 guitars. But again, this is going to make you a better player. Thanks for watching.